Okay, so let's take a look at kind of what I'm expecting from your presentation and what kind of needs to go into it. So that we're on number three, put together your presentation, and you're watching this video, which actually doesn't look like this now because I'm recording it now. But here's what you need to include in your presentation. So here's kind of the list of the different things that you want to do. So first thing, you want to introduce the two systems with some general description about the system characteristics. Is it intensive, extensive? Is it subsistence, commercial? Anything else to kind of put it in context? What are they growing? What are they raising if it's livestock? So just give a general introduction. And then the next important part is you're going to compare the inputs and outputs of the two systems. And you can do that in any order or way, shape, or form that seems to make the most sense for your presentation. But for each system, you want to be looking at what are the major inputs and what are the major outputs, and how do those compare to each other. So now this says right here, so if you're comparing the inputs and outputs of the two systems, here is when applicable, inputs should include the following. So not every single system is going to have the same inputs and outputs, right? You're not necessarily going to have fertilizers if you're growing or if you're raising cattle or rabbits, but you very well might if you are growing wheat, you might be adding fertilizers. So you don't need to add or even talk about fertilizers if it's not applicable. So it's only where it's applicable you talk about those things. So the types of fertilizers, how much water is being used, do you have pest control? Do how do they use pest control in the system? Can you find that information out? Is it with pesticides in general, or is it more using natural predators like ladybugs or something? How much labor? Now, this one's for sure going to be important when you're looking at an intensive versus extensive, because the labor is going to be a lot more if it's intensive, right? So, and what type of labor is being used? Is it just a lot of fossil fuel like tractors, or is it manual labor? Is it a lot of people have to be working on it? What types of seeds? Is there genetically modified seeds? If it's an animal, what type of breeding stock is it? Are they domestic? Is it wild? Do they hunt them to bring them in? If you have livestock and keep them together, are you using antibiotics, hormones, organic or none? What do you have to do to feed them, right? Anything else important? So here's some possible inputs. And then the outputs, again, only what's applicable. The pollutants, this is, so the food quality, how good is the food that you're getting? Sorry. How good of quality is that food? Is it low quality, low calorie food, or is it high calorie rich, like lots of vitamins? How much are you getting? Are you getting a lot of food or not very much food for all the labor you're putting in? Are there any pollutions involved? And that includes greenhouse gases, that includes herbicide runoff, that includes pesticides, other things like that. Is there any impacts to consumer health with what they're eating? Is it a type of crop that maybe doesn't have anything to do with you being healthy? Soil quality. Is this type of farming going to erode the soil, or is it one that's actually better for the soil? So what's happening there? How fertile can it be? Things like corn can strip a lot of the nitrates out of it. Common pollutants, if there's any of these pollutants, I guess I have that twice in here, so don't worry, you don't need to do it twice. And then any outputs from transportation, processing, packaging, if applicable. So again, talk about what's applicable there, okay? And then you'll just post your link when you submit the assignment. Now there's an optional extension, which I really recommend you guys take a look at, and that's just reflecting on the sustainability of the systems. So you can also talk about not just the inputs and outputs, but actually evaluate which system seems to be more sustainable than the other. And you can use figure 222 in your 522 in your Oxford book, and that'll give you some ideas about your response. Okay, so good luck, and I'm looking forward to seeing them.